I get no special privilege for being the person who pays the bills.
Well, I thought you did until now. I mean, I thought you'd spawn loads of good shit in for me, and I'd be happy. You know, 5 years I was pretending to be your friend, and you still never gave me anything.
Well, this is the thing. I learnt very early on that if you tell people that you're the server owner, then the next logical response from them is, oh, admin abuse. So when it came to the purge, I think the next 2 purges after that, I got grief afterwards. Any time I had an interaction with somebody that didn't go their way.
Yeah.
And so I think eventually I stopped doing the purge. I stopped playing the purge. But
I remember you did, but we did to purge together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We had some good times, mate.
But you know, I wasn't sort of like some people took it really seriously. I don't think I ever did. I enjoyed it.
It's a strange thing because I can never understand why players get so protective and they get so angry over losing something 12 hours before they're going to lose it anyway.
Yeah.
It's never, you know, but I suppose I even got frustrated at times, I guess. Just because I didn't want it to be the end of my playtime.
Yeah. I didn't really get frustrated if I logged in and found my base had already been raided, but I did used to get annoyed if I raided somebody and they despawned all their stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if they also weren't on to fight in the purge, like defend their base. Like at that point, you really are just out to spoil other people's fun because you know your base isn't going to be there after the wipe anyway. So.
I tell you, it was when you'd spend a good couple of hours. Like you literally.
Oh my god! Do you remember that time we were trying to get into that base? You'd built a base in a lake, or like a shallow lake, and we were trying to get into the base next to it.
Yeah.
It's like 3 in the morning, like Thursday night. We both got work the next day. It's 3 in the morning. You're running back to make satchel charges. I'm sort of like just watching the base, making sure nobody logs in. Honestly, we must have spent like 3 or 4 hours trying to get into that one base.
And you find the loot room,
and it was shite. It was like It was this massive base, like it was huge, and there was like one little what was it? It was like a 2x1, wasn't it? Equivalent, with one set of shelves and 4 chests in of loot.
But we were so proud when we found it.
I think. Well, I was just relieved. I didn't know how much longer we were going to have to do this.
Reb, I found it. Reb, look through the crack. Look, that's his loot room. And it'd be like, oh yeah. And then.
And even that room had like 2 turrets and a flame turret in. Because I remember dying, like trying to get into there. And we were so desperately out of ammo. We were desperately out of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Expecting some massive payoff just to find, like, there was nothing in there, was there?
Nope. Absolutely nothing.
But that was a good laugh.
It was. And that's basically our... I mean, that's always been our history, really, hasn't it? We've... I think we both want the same things, just slightly differently. And it's still nice to log on and chill out. And the nice thing is I can still have a chat. So where some people are bitter, like, you know, you get the odd people who fall out and make separate servers, but we've never really fallen out. And we never really, like, you know, it was just a case of we've kept talking to each other and have these chilled out chats, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, we do have periods where we don't really talk to each other, but that's not because we've fallen out.
No,
it's usually because we're busy. You know, you had a kid. I moved and started a new job.
It hurts me every time you remind me of that.
What, that I moved?
Well, I have a kid now.
Well,
it's good when he sleeps.
Do you want me to edit that bit out?
No. No, it's interesting. Whenever I got to be careful because my missus is here right now, and I don't want her to get upset or be annoyed at me when I say this. But I love it when parents sit there and they always say the same thing to anybody who says that they're pregnant or they're going to have a child and stuff like that. And the parents always say, "Best thing that you've ever done, best thing that ever happens to you. You know, you'll never regret it." And I think. And nowadays, I look back at those statements when someone says that to me, or when someone has said that to me. I think to myself, "Yeah, I get it, but that's only because it's the best thing you ever do. That's only because you're no longer fucking able to do anything else in that 8-9 hour period where your partner's at work, or you've got to look after this thing. But if you don't look after it, it will die." So, it's like it's got nothing to do with it's the best thing that's ever happened to your life. It's just that it's the only thing that
It's the only thing that's going on in your life.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's consumed their lives for the last 4 years. But yeah, no, it's lovely. It's nice that I can get on now and chill out and play some Rust and talk to you and just waffle, talk a load of shite basically.
Were you a problem child? I know you used to fight with your sister, but I mean, generally, were you a problem to your parents?
Massively.
Yeah. What sort of things did you
massively.
get up to?
I was awful. I literally the school would always phone my parents up. Andy's in trouble with the teacher. Andy's in trouble with the class. Or it's because I never really got on with the kids. It might explain why I spent most of my teenage youth and that playing computer PC games instead. But yeah, I was a little bugger, to be honest, mate. Yeah, I don't know how I survived. Well, funny enough, my dad, Judo Man, he now plays Rust and plays on the server with me. So it just shows what kind of person I am if my dad bloody plays Rust as well. You know what he's like.
Yeah, I know what he's like.
Oh dear.
I don't think. Yeah. I was an only child. I didn't really have an outlet for any of my angst. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the causes of me getting into games when I did. It's sort of like getting away from. I don't know. I wasn't depressed, but it's as a kid when you're on your own.
Well, it's a you know what, it's this whole thing of imagination. So I've got this thing where I did go out with my mates on the odd occasion, and that was good, that was fun, but at the same time there was nothing better for me than getting on the computer at night and chilling out with other mates that I've never met before, and they were much cooler because they were older and they lived in different parts of the country. And also, they did the hobby that I did, and that was building computers and enjoying gaming PCs and stuff like that. I wasn't interested in PlayStations or Mega Drives or anything like that. When my dad brought home the first PC he had, it was like I just stared at it like, I want one. Can I have one? I want one. And I remember doing like a paid job with my old man. We sat there and we painted outside and inside this computer shop. One of our local computer shops, and they actually paid us. They didn't pay us with money; they paid us in computer parts.
Nice.
And it was basically the reason my dad had me do it was so I could go in and select the computer parts I wanted to build my computer. So he actually just did the job for me, which was nice. But yeah, I think that's it. And it's a shame nowadays because I think people have drifted away from that a little bit. So people don't go on nowadays to play computer games, so to speak. They go on to do all this social mumbo jumbo,
podcasts and shit.
Well, do you know what I was going to say? Basically, do what we're doing.
Yeah.
But they want to do it full time, and they want to get on YouTube and expect to have results straight away, and quit their jobs, and then it all goes to crap.
Yeah.
It's definitely looked upon in a totally different way nowadays, where it used to be my little getaway, like, sitting in an open world. I mean, World of Warcraft, I think, is 14, 15 years old now. And I did start playing that when I was a teenager.
What was your Right. Okay. So, would you say that was your first big game that you got into?
No,
No.
Counter-Strike was my first big game.
How old would you have been then?
15, I think. 14, 15.
Oh, you're an annoying 15-year-old. Okay.
Oh, dude, I was awful. That was definitely the reason I did awful at school, because I'd be up until 4 in the morning playing on Jolt servers, the multiplayer Jolt servers.
I don't know what
Do you
that
remember?
is.
Do you know Multiplay, the server provider?
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah, so they had their official multiplayer Counter-Strike servers,
Right.
and I think it was Jolt 14 that had a certain map all the time, which was the same map, and literally they had leaderboards and all that shit, and you'd always try and be in the top 10 of those. But the problem is you'd be up at 4 or 5 in the morning and then going to school the next day. So yeah, you totally screwed yourself over.
Is this why you got a night job when you had
No.
one?
Well, no, it's
Because I used to work in a pub, so I've always been a night owl. But I always my first job was working behind a bar, bar manager, and that suited me perfectly. You know, I'd go to bed at 2 and just think, yeah, this is absolutely normal for me.
yeah, it is weird. I totally forgot actually. There was another big game I played, and that was Ultima Online. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
Yeah. I didn't play it, but I know of it.
Yeah, so I obviously put all my time into Ultima Online, and again, you know, it was that whole character building and, you know, having your own little, being in your own world and standing out from everyone else. And you know what? Actually, when you look at Ultima Online compared to some of the other MMOs out there, it seemed to be back in the day that you actually got rewarded for the time you spent on a game, as opposed to being rewarded, as opposed to the game mechanics giving in and just giving players, you know, like after a month and a half or 2 months nowadays of a person grinding for something in a game, 2 months later the developer says, oh, all those ones which couldn't achieve it, you're all winners at the end of the day, so here's what the other guys have achieved, you can have that now as well. And it's like, I wish there was a bit more individuality to these games now still, you know. I think I mentioned that to you the other day when we were talking about Rust, and the fact I'd love it to be player stats as well, like in 7 Days to Die. So, you know,
Yeah.
it would be good, but ultimately I know that that's not a thing anymore, is it? I mean, everyone has to be a winner nowadays, mate. And
Well, I think Rust is still one of these games where you can still be a complete loser at the end of the wipe, and likewise you can, like, end game win everything. But I think because Rust, I don't know if this is still the case, but I read a while back they were looking at introducing quests, and I think the NPCs at the boathouse and the ranches are the first sort of view of what that might look like. So, you know, when you go and buy a helicopter, you have to talk to that bloody annoying dude who talks really slowly. I think that's going to be the first sort of that's like the first iteration of what the quests might look like from NPCs. I don't know how that's going to pan out. I don't know how interested people will be.
yeah, it's always a bit of a risk, isn't it?
Because everybody sort of wants... In Rust, people want something for nothing, and the easiest way of doing that is just go find somebody who's done it all, and kill them, steal all their stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how well quests will work. And this leads on to something I was going to mention earlier, which is the dumbing down of the game. Like the recent introduction of softcore for the game mode. I just sort of think, if you're going to play a game, challenge yourself. Don't, you know, if you die, don't just spawn at the outpost and get half your things back immediately. Go find your body. I mean, it's not difficult. It's marked on the map. I mean, yeah, you might have been, you know, somebody might have stolen all your stuff, but that is a part of the game. Don't play survival games if you have a fear of losing things, because
everyone's a winner, mate.
Well,
That is
that is what it's working towards. I mean, I was annoyed when they introduced the death marker on the map because it takes a challenge out of it. I remember spending like a whole hour looking for my body simply because I knew I had good things when I died. I knew roughly where I'd died, and I was eager to find that stuff. And I knew that the body would only stay for like 10 minutes, but the backpack would hang around for as long as it stayed around. And I would spend an entire hour looking for my body. And as far as I was concerned, I didn't consider that to be a bad thing. That was a learning experience. You know, make sure your gun is loaded before you try and fight a bear.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, oh, look at the map, right, your body's there, you can go get it. Okay, it's done.
Make sure you have a gun before you try and fight a bear as well.
Yeah, and that. The amount of times I've been jumped by bears and wolves without a gun, I mean...
Yeah, you are right. I think it homes back as well to what I was saying, that everyone has to be a winner nowadays.
Yeah.
And everyone gets... I don't know, people get so uptight. Or I feel that people get uptight when they can't do something. I mean, you've been the server admin and server owner now for over. I mean, how long have you been doing friend not foe now?
So we started the original PvE server in May 2016. So
It's just
4.5 years now.
Yeah, so 4.5 years, and you've seen how people get. And how irate people get. I'll never forget my first attempt at doing a server on my own. And this guy that was perfectly normal used to come on, "Hi everyone, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. You? Yeah, no, I'm having a fantastic day. Oh, this is a great server. Oh, Debug, this is awesome. Oh, you're right. Welcome, new player." And then one day, this person who'd built by him built just over the river. Over onto his part, and he went absolutely mental. Like literally, it wasn't even, "That is my bit. You cannot do that." And I was like, "Well, it doesn't matter, mate. You know, it's just he can do that. There's no rules against it. Like, you know, no, that's not fair. And this guy just literally he went dysfunctional. He was building turrets and loading them up by this guy's base, so the guy couldn't come out of his base. And it was
yeah, that sort of irrational response to somebody building near you is something I see pretty much weekly.
Yeah, and it's also like nowadays people expect to have everything they want literally on a plate. And it's like I was telling you with reviewers now. When someone reviews a game nowadays, they criticise it for the most stupidest of things, like, "Oh, the biggest letdown in this game is it doesn't have cross-platform, or it doesn't have this," and I'm like, just
enjoy the game.
It's this long age-old thing I've wanted to say to people, like, well, you do better then. Like, it can't be that hard to review a game. Well, I guess, you have to put the time in and you have to play it, but it's like all these AAA games, like again, Anthem, Battlefield, Titanfall. I'm naming all the EA ones, but there's some artist in that workshop that has sat there day in, day out, probably doing 6-7 days a week, just to get these characters how they have done. And then some little snotty shitbag in his bedroom sits there and goes, "Oh, I wasn't impressed at this game. It's not worth the money."
Some blogger.
Yeah, and it's like, well, anyway, that was my quick rant.
Let's see what you're capable of.
Yeah, as I said, it does make me laugh nowadays. The expectations. It's a bit like Amazon. Amazon is always the company that, that's what everyone expects nowadays, isn't it? So I had a problem with my Alexa the other day, and she's going to turn on now because I've just said the name. But I had a problem with it the other day, and it wouldn't play music when I asked it to. It would say it's going to play it, and then it would just go quiet. So I then asked it, well, why aren't you playing music? And it told me to go into my app and press contact help. And so I went into the app and I pressed contact help, and it said, "We'll call you in a minute." And I thought, no, they're not going to call me over a problem with my Alexa, for God's sake. And I pressed the button, and then they called me literally within 10 seconds, even quicker. And then so they call you, and then they put you onto the phone to a help service guy, and they said we've currently got a short call queue. And I thought, okay, I'll probably be on for like 5-10 minutes. Within 20 seconds, bam, and a really nice American guy. "Hi sir, how's your day today? How can I help?" And he he fixed it within like 2 or 3 minutes. But the thing is, and this is, I guess, where the older generation is so grumpy with this kind of shit, because obviously, being my Amazon Alexa, it had all my details, it had all my account stuff set up from Prime. So I said to the guy, "Do you need my account or email?" And he was like, "I've already got it. It's all sorted. I'm logged in." And he did it within 2 minutes. He rebooted my device, which is, but that is like, he said, "If I answered everything for you today, you happy with the service?" And I was like,
Were you just just picking up your jaw off the floor?
I didn't even know they did that shit. Like, literally, usually when you buy a product from Currys, if it's buggered, you're buggered, because you know it's going to be impossible to drive to a shop, speak to someone who actually cares, and then get your product resolved.
Yeah.
And this is where people like Amazon, they're setting the bar so high nowadays, and that's what people want all the time. They want everything with a click of a finger. So is that the games company's faults for not adhering to that standard, or is it people just, are we spoilt now?
I think it's a bit of both. I think there's such a like, looking at No Man's Sky, and this is an easy one to pick on because when it first came out, it was a hot mess. But the developers at Hello had been going around doing like press junkets saying, yeah, it's going to have this, it's going to have that. So they themselves were they were setting the expectations. They were going to interviews, they were going to like conferences, things like that. And any time anybody asked them, will it have this, they were just saying yes, yeah. Even if they didn't know what the hell they were talking about or what that thing was they'd just been asked for, they were just going, yeah, it'll have that. So of course when the game came out, it didn't have any of these things, and the expectations were not met, so of course it did not pan out well for them. So I think yeah, it's certainly the case that the developers are not meeting expectations. It doesn't help that so many games, there's so little variation in games today that if, say for instance, I brought out an open world car game where I could rob banks and steal helicopters, people would immediately compare it to Grand Theft Auto and say, well, it's not as good as Grand Theft Auto. And it doesn't matter what other unique features you add to it to make it different. People are going to look at the obvious comparison and say, well, it's not as good as that. So likewise, when Scum came out, was it Scum? Survival game?
Yeah.
So that had great expectations and it looked good, I think. The graphics were pretty good. The physics and everything were amazing. Wasn't it the case that if you ate a lot, then you put on weight and things like that?
That's right. Yeah, your heart rate changed and everything changed basically.
Yeah.
Your entire body reacted to it.
And that sounds great on paper, but I think when it came out, a lot of people were like, oh, well, it's not Rust, or it's not DayZ, or it's not this, and it's not that. And it's like, give them a break. It's a different game. They're trying to do something slightly different. It's got more of a, I wouldn't say it's more realistic, I guess, but they were trying to do something that was like, if your clothes got wet, they were wet. Change into dry clothes and that would go away.
Yeah.
The expectations at every level from the press, people selling the game, and obviously the players. It's all got out of control. I just want to play Tetris some days. There's no expectations there.
Tetris. Oh God.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
See, that does show that you're old. Sonic, I'll give you, but Tetris, you know.